Hi everybody. My name is Stephen Turner, and I am the president of Gesher Galicia and the founder of the Non-Varnished Data Research Group. I am joined today by Darcy Stamler, who is the treasurer of Gesher Galicia, and Alex Denisenko, who lives in Lviv, Ukraine, formerly Lviv, and during the times of Galicia, of which it was the capital, Lemberg. Alex, as many of you know who listened to our podcast last week, is a good friend of ours and is a tour guide and genealogy researcher. He works with Gesher Galicia on special projects like he is doing now with Rabbi Moshe Kolesnik of Ivano-Frankivsk. Welcome, Alex, and thank you for joining Darcy and me today on such short notice.
No problem, my pleasure.
So last time we spoke, 11 days ago, it seemed like we in the United States were more nervous about events than you in Ukraine. You yourself thought that Putin was more rational than to start a war. Do you think you miscalculated, or you didn't know how crazy he was, or you think he was just boxed into a corner?
I think I was wrong. I did not expect that he is that crazy. What had happened this morning was a shock for me, and I'm also under this shock. I'm really tired of all this information, and it's heartbreaking news. And what he is doing, it's a mere crime. It's unbelievable.
It's an absolute crime.
There is no any justification, no any explanation, any logical explanation for what this idiot is doing.
Right. Now, Lviv is in Western Ukraine. Were you surprised that the initial Russian strike included Western Ukraine?
Yes, and it was absolutely absurd. You see, in the morning I spoke with Moshe Kolesnik. He lives not far from the area where this explosion took place, and he actually woke up because of it. It's a small airport. It used to be a military airport in the past, and I think it's still being used, but very, very seldom for some sort of trainings. It's not the regular airport, as I understood. It's not the one that.
Oh, it's not the regular Ivano-Frankivsk where the
it's not the one to which
airline goes from.
Yeah, it's different.
Oh, okay.
And it's been used during the Soviet times for certain military training, and it's by now it's obsolete, and there is just some storage for fuel. And as I understood, missile got into this reservoir with fuel, and this caused a terrible blow. And what kind of threat to the Russian Federation or whomsoever this airport could be, it's a question mark. It's really.
Now, Ivano-Frankivsk is far inland, so do you think these missiles were fired from like a helicopter or something like that, or how do you think they got at this airport?
I think they were launched from the airplanes, because the nearest Russian airports to Ivano-Frankivsk are in Tiraspol, which is Transnistria, like the unrecognized republic, which is around 300 kilometers from Ivano-Frankivsk. And the other, I think it's more probable option that the planes came from Belarus, from the Belarusian airports, and were launched closer to the target, closer to Ivano-Frankivsk. But I repeat again, it's absurd, because this airport and this facility is of no any military significance. It's just probably it was a mistake. Probably they had some old Soviet era maps that showed this airport as some important strategical object. In fact, it is not.
Well, maybe that's a good sign to show that their intelligence is not that good.
Yeah, this must have been a mistake, because spending what they spent for it, and not to say about moral issues, it's absurd.
Okay, now what we see on the news is that many people in the east in Ukraine are now fleeing the west. And it is said that many in the West are trying to get into Poland. Now, what are your plans, and what do you what are you thinking of what to do with your family if Lviv should fall under Russian hands?
I'm not ready. I'm not ready to answer because I did not take any decisions.
Right.
Well, first of all, if I go to Poland, I'll have to find some work there because I'm not a rich man and I cannot sustain my living there for a long time. Secondly, there could be some COVID injection issues and other things that could prevent me of going there. And a bunch of other things. So far, I think I would stay here. I do not have any immediate plans, but situation may get much worse. Then people, when bombs are falling over their heads, they're just rushing wherever they could, which could also be the issue.
Well, do you think that maybe you should think about like a worst case scenario of what you're going to do, so that you're not, you're ready when if God forbid it does happen?
Maybe I'm not ready to give answer to this question. Maybe I should go somewhere outside the city. On the other hand, Lviv does not have any major military facilities, just some repair factories for military equipment. That's it. And hardly it's however, you see, judging by the airstrike over Ivano-Frankivsk airfield, there is not too much logic in what they're doing.
Right.
And they're just bombing to intimidate, and the guy turned nuts, and he's just doing all kind of crazy things.
Yeah. So let's Alex, just kind of sticking with this topic for a second about movement within Ukraine by Ukrainians. Have you sensed I'm sure you're in communication with people in your city, in Ivano-Frankivsk Oblast, and the rest of the Lviv Oblast. Are you getting any sense that any sense that there are significant, preparations being undertaken for the population, pockets of the population to make moves, further west, perhaps into Poland or elsewhere? Are you getting,
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
In the district where I live, it's the very center of Lviv, nice area actually. And there are many apartments that are rented out to visitors. Recently, I saw many fancy cars, which I've never seen before, like beautiful, expensive cars, $50,000 or more for a piece, I've never seen such cars in this area before, which means people came from the Eastern Ukraine, wealthy people came from the Western Ukraine, and they probably stay here for a while before going elsewhere. Or maybe would stay longer, because Lviv is in any case safer than let's say Eastern Ukraine, like Sumy or Kharkiv. So, and also even today, I got a call from my friend Igor Shupak, who is head of the Menorah Museum in Dnipro, which is the largest actually Jewish history museum in this country. And he with his wife just came to Lviv, and he asked about helping to rent an apartment somewhere in the city center, because situation in Dnipro, where he lives, is more dangerous than it is here.
Right. So what you're sensing right now is movement from the east to the western parts of Ukraine. Are you sensing? Yes. Are you sensing preparations for another movement again? Within the people that you're talking to within the Lviv Oblast, within the Ivano-Frankivsk Oblast.
Probably to Poland, Poland, Hungary
would be the first points of movement.
Yes. Unfortunately, many people are planning to go. To move up to Poland. Actually, there was a TV broadcast today showing lines at Szczeginy. Szczeginy is a small town at the border near Mościska. You probably know Mościska. Right. It was predominantly Jewish town before the Shoah. And in Szczeginy, Mościska, there is a long line of vehicles, and there is also like a pedestrian crossing with thousands of people waiting in the line to cross into Poland. And Poland actually has made entry regulations milder. So a person who transpasses the country can also just show the PCI test and may not necessarily be fully vaccinated. So if one would like to go to Turkey or to Israel or wherever, he could transpass he could transpass Poland.
I remember when you guided a trip that I was on with the other descendants from the state of Nadvorna. You told us to be prepared because we went from Warsaw. We went to we stayed in Zamość overnight.
Yes,
because
yes. Nice
we wanted
place.
we wanted to be near the border in the morning because he said it could take a full day to cross the border.
It may take because of bureaucracy and inefficiency of officials at the border.
So you think they're making it a little bit easier now?
Yes, yes,
because...
I think so. Yes, I think so. Plus all the flights from Ukraine and to Ukraine, all the airspace of Ukraine is closed now, so you cannot fly anywhere from Ukraine. And the only way to get out from the country is on land.
Right. And so, Alex, when I was with you 3 years ago, and you left me in Lviv, and then I took a train into Poland from there. What about the train? Is that, you see any interruption at this point with the trains moving through?
I don't think so. I think that they're functioning. The trains are okay. But the trains coming from Kiev to the west are overbooked, judging by the last broadcasts, and getting a ticket is a bit problematic. Well, it's possible, but they are in very high demand.
For people who want to drive from, let's say, Kiev to Lviv, it's a long ride. You're going to have to fill up with gas a few times. Is it difficult? Do gas stations have gas, or
in Kiev and in Kiev there is deficit of gasoline. There are lines at the gas stations. In Lviv, so far, I think situation is okay.
And
however, it may change at any moment.
And the areas in between, as far as you know, like to travel from Kiev into Lviv, on the areas that you'll be traveling through, it's not difficult to get gas in those areas, as far as you know?
Yes, that's what they show on TV. They say it's difficult to buy gas on the road between Kiev and Lviv at the moment because of the deficit and very high demand for gas.
Yeah. Do you feel safe going out on the streets?
Well, I feel claustrophobic, being, how to say it better, jammed or overwhelmed, better to say, with all this terrible news. And I feel better outside. But when you go outside, you see many people with guns and some military, and they look a bit frightening. But generally, today was a very beautiful day, like spring, a nice day and very peaceful day, and it was nice outside. I feel safe outside.
Now, actually, are the stores open if you needed to buy food? Do you have enough food in the house?
Yes. Food and groceries are in no deficit. In the morning, however, I've decided to go and withdraw some paper money, some cash, because if banking system is down, it will be impossible to use a banking card. So I went and saw that most of the ATMs were out of money or dysfunctioning, and those that had money and were functioning, long lines for hours. However, in the second part of the day, probably they provided more cash to the rest of the ATMs, and this issue was resolved. In the afternoon, you can get it was possible to get as much money as one wants. And the same with groceries. People are buying what they're buying. They're buying some macaroni, spaghetti, potatoes, sugar, matches, and things like that. But the supply is sufficient. You come to a grocery store and see a lot of things. People are buying a lot of mineral water because they're afraid if they hit the power station, the electricity would go down, and automatically a water supply would be disrupted.
Right.
Right.
Now, Now, many countries, as we know, moved their embassy staffs into Lviv.
Yes.
Now, with the exception of, you already spoke about seeing the fancy cars in the street that you were not used to seeing. Is there any other change that you notice in the city as because of the result of these embassies coming to Lviv?
Not really, not really.
Not really?
But I see some people, well, whom I didn't see before, not typical for this area, speaking like Spanish, for example. Well, English-speaking people or Polish-speaking, German-speaking people, it was like a common issue. However, more people speaking some other languages like Spanish or some like Slavic languages and other languages. However, I think this only part of the diplomatic personnel keeps on staying here. As far as I know, most people from the Polish consulate to Lviv moved to Poland today.
Really? Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Well, I know I read that Israel moved their embassy to Lviv, and they sent the coordinates of their new consulate or whatever to Russia, so that if they would bomb Lviv, to avoid the embassy. So I would imagine most other countries did that also. So there, maybe Russia would think twice about, hitting some targets in Lviv, because.
Well, if the leader of Russia is at all able to think, I think he's overrun with his crazy emotions, and he's not on the logical line.
Right. So I texted today with our friend Tatiana, who lives in Nadvirna, and she is very worried that Russia will attack Nadvirna because of the oil plant there. Now,
That's
Tatiana
possible.
is a person that Darcy and I spoke to last week, who told us that everything was normal and she doesn't even watch the news. Now, of course, she and the whole city, which is the state where my father was born, are very worried. Now, do you think they should be? And do you think those kind of plants are targets of the crazy
They
man?
could become targets, yes. At the moment, Putin said that they have very exact, very precise military equipment, and they hit only points of military significance, places of military significance, no civilians, etc., blah, blah, blah. But, well, war is war, first of all. Secondly, he is not a serious man, and he's a liar. He's lying all the time. He's saying one thing and does something completely different. So it is difficult to predict.
Now, do you get CNN or other American networks in Lviv? And do you
See what?
CNN. Do you get CNN?
Oh, yes. I can turn on to CNN, and they just showed Biden.
Yeah.
I want to tell the listeners that this is being recorded while Biden is speaking, so we don't know what he said. So it's not like we could ask Alex about that. And
he spoke about sanctions. But
do you trust the news you get from Ukrainian networks?
Well, all news now, it's war now, and you cannot trust any news, because all the parties are putting things in the light that they're willing to, in the light that would show well their values, their strength, and they will not speak about weak points. So news in the situation like that could not be true.
Do you have something more you want to ask?
It was as I was sort of half dozing off or trying to last night, I saw something out of the corner of my eye that Putin had said something about, part of his rationale here was the quote unquote denazification of Ukraine.
I think he wants to compare Ukraine with the Nazi Germany. Nazification was a term used after the Allies defeated Hitler, and there was the process of denazification, which means removal of the Hitler's ideology.
And the
which is,
associates and all of that. All of that.
Putin wants to say that modern Ukraine and Nazi Germany is the same issue.
Exactly.
That's what he wants to say.
Right. Do you have any sense within Ukraine how that played out among the Ukrainian people after he said it yesterday?
Well, people are clever enough to understand that he is saying absurd things.
Right.
Well, it's not true, and
right,
well,
yeah.
Because there are different kinds of people, and some nationalists and some cosmopolitans and whosoever. But it's a democratic country and variety of opinions. But speaking about denazification, it's well,
absurd.
it's his propaganda trick. It's his propaganda trick.
Right.
He wants to convince Russians that he's fighting against some ultra nationalists who are anti-Semitic, who are anti-Russian, who are anti-anything but themselves. But well, you've been here, you know that it's not really so. Well, of course, there are different types of people. Some are more, say, nationalistic. Some are less nationalistic. Some are cosmopolitan. But telling you Ukraine a Nazi country, comparing it to Nazi Germany, it's not true. It's wrong.
Now, last week you said that you thought Zelensky was pretty popular with the people. Would you say the same thing is true now? Maybe he's more popular?
Yes, he behaves and shows him as a strong leader.
Yeah,
he spoke many times on television today, and his talks, his speeches were logical, and he was expressing himself with emotions, but very clearly. And so far, so good. He and his team are under this difficult situation are doing good.
Well, his speech was very
adequate.
well received and praised in the United States from like 99% of the people. But yeah, we seem to feel here that he is a strong leader that is doing a good job.
Yeah, he's stronger than people expected.
Yeah, and he's certainly stronger, I think, than Putin had hoped for. So
yeah.
And, any sense of how the Ukrainian military is doing now?
Well,
nobody knows.
Judging by the Ukrainian coverage, well, they're doing not so bad. There were fights, and they defeated, they destroyed over a dozen of Russian tanks and 7 or 8 airplanes. But it's wartime news, you know. You may believe it or not.
Right.
Russian army occupied Chernobyl, by the way, Chernobyl area near this power station, and they are in this area. But they're coming and going. One platoon surrendered. They said that we did not agree to go fight Ukrainians. We were just brought here for military training and surrendered to Ukrainian army. In the east, in the southeast, near Kherson, there are heavy battles, and they're planning to reopen the Crimean Channel to supply drinking water to Crimea. So situation is unclear. Is unclear now. We do not know what's really going on.
Does Ukraine have air defenses when these missiles are going? Is there anything being shot at these missiles?
Yeah, something was shot, but Ukrainian air defense seems weak.
Seems weak. Okay.
Some airplanes were shot, right, and 1 or 2 helicopters were also. But there were dozens Russian aircraft flying over Ukraine and having no. Plus, maybe they had some special jamming system that prevented them from being visible on radars.
Is cell phone service at normal now?
At the moment, yes. At the moment, yes. In the morning, there were interruptions. One of the providers, they were misfunctioning. There was no connection, and some of the banks didn't work well. I mean, net-based bank services didn't work. However, my bank worked. I mean, Private Bank of Ukraine, it was functioning all the time. And finally, I've managed to get some paper money, some cash from the card, which is, well, logical to.
I imagine people are not going to work other than essential workers now.
They
right?
do.
They
People
do?
go to work. Yeah.
They're going to their offices and
Yeah, well, they've been to their offices today until until 2 or 3 o'clock. Then it was up to them to stay or to go home. But generally, well, I think people go to their works.
okay. How would you say the people of Ukraine feel about the United States now?
Well, they feel positive, but they want more support because
They're not angry at it anyway. You don't
I will not
think-
say angry. I will not say angry, but definitely Ukrainians and Ukraine as country needs more support. And I'm not sure whether the sanctions that Joe Biden introduces would help to resolve this issue.
I mean,
Ukraine
other than sending troops, what kind of support more?
Well,
could the
military
United States
equipment,
become?
military equipment.
Are they
vehicles,
not sending enough now?
No,
They're
I
not
don't think so.
sending enough.
Mhm. And probably radar systems for air defense.
Now, with the airspace over Ukraine being closed now, how would they get that in? And the ports, I would imagine that they're.
Well,
Ports
it's
are under
closed for
attack.
it's closed for commercial airplanes. For military, well, they fly regardless or whatever. They fly whatever
Right.
anytime.
So they would let cargo planes from other countries,
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, they could
they would
fly.
open themselves up to attack by Russians, I would assume. You know, Russia sees supplies coming for the Ukrainian army that could like make the fight a wider fight.
Yes, it's a risk, but it's war.
Yeah,
War is war.
right.
Also, there is an option to bring stuff from Poland, from Germany by
Right,
land,
right.
by trucks.
Right, that's what they were
Also-
saying this morning on with some of the American, former generals, that's how the movement would take place, by land coming from those border countries.
Right. Okay, well,
Right.
do you have anything else, Darcy?
No, not right now, thank you.
Okay, well, we thank you, Alex, okay?
Thank you, Alex.
My pleasure.
And please know that we're all thinking about you and all our other friends in Ukraine, and that you have our unconditional support. And we're praying for you guys. And when you
Thank
speak
you.
to Rabbi Kolesnik next,
Mm.
please.
I will
send him our love
convey.
And
Please, yeah, thank you.
best regards. Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you,
And
Alex.
Thank you.
hopefully we'll have good news to report soon.
So do I.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex.
Bye.
Bye bye.